Arsenal are on the verge of history. Arsenal are inches away, millimetres away from winning our first Premier League title in 22 years. What a massive win in East London at the London Stadium against West Ham United. A 1-0 win. There was drama. There was controversy. There is so much to talk about. And then after that, we will also talk about where the Premier League title race is. But let's get straight into it. I don't want to waste any more time. A 1-0 win at the London Stadium. Trossard's goal separating the two sides. Let's break it all down. We'll start with team selection. I was so happy with Arteta's team selection. This is the third game in a row where I've had pretty much no issue with the selection at all. And it's because he picked the same team every time. I think the only thing that I was concerned about across the three games was picking Ben White over Mosquera against Atletico Madrid, because I feared the Lookman matchup, but he obviously dealt with that very well. I wanted him to start this game though after that Atletico Madrid performance, and while Somerville and Diouf can still be a threat, I didn't think that they would do a whole lot, and after watching that game, they really didn't. But Arsenal, as the lineup, suggested, started the game very well. I thought sort of the first half hour, we were the much better side. We were on the front foot. As you can see, the first half stats are very much in our favour. 3 big chances to 1. I can't imagine what their big chance would have been. Was it this? Or was it that? Yeah, none of these look like big chances to me. Don't know why it says they had a big chance. We had the 3. We had, we were killing them on XG, killing them on shots. They didn't get a shot off until, I think it was this one, the 36th minute, that scuffed effort from Somerville. But we started the game very well. I think the one thing I love about this lineup is Calafiori and Ben White. I'm very critical on Arsenal's fullbacks. I think a lot of the time the fullbacks don't offer us enough in attack. Don't get me wrong, it's far from perfect. They don't bomb as much as they should. Ben White kind of does, but his legs are a bit gone now. But at least what they do is they offer a bit of quality on the ball. They can help us progress the ball, because our sort of build-up is quite poor a lot of the time. Our midfield, especially when Zubamendi's in there over Lewis Skelly, our midfield isn't very progressive. Rice isn't the most progressive midfielder of all time. It's really just these two that are our main source of ball progression, and then either Erdegaard or Eze has to drop deep, which then limits our attack. But I think this fullback pairing, it worked. Calafiori was picking up the ball in tight spaces. He was linking up well with Trossard, with Lewis Skelly. Ben White is always, he always does that as well. Although what he offers in attack is more in the final third when he bombs up and down. We didn't see it as much in this game because obviously he went off injured. But Arsenal started the game very well. We had a few opportunities. We can look here. There was that ball, I think it was here. Yeah, the ball that Trossard played in behind to Calafiori, isn't able to get the shot off properly. I think he hesitated a moment. There was an opportunity for him to sort of, I think, stick it into the far corner, but he isn't able to do it in time. And then I think here there was the set piece. Oh no, this is a different one. This was later in the game. But yeah, there was the set piece where we managed to get a few shots off. Potentially could have gone 1-0 up. I think it was these 3. And yeah, overall, I was very confident in the first half hour. I expected us to get quite an early goal. But I think the thing that sort of hampered us and sort of ruined that momentum is this Ben White injury. Now, I wanted him to start this game. In fact, the last 3 games, the only decision lineup-wise that I wasn't a fan of was starting Ben White against Atletico Madrid, and I was proven wrong because he absolutely cooked against Atletico Madrid, locked up Lookman. I wanted him to start this game because of, what I was saying before with the fullbacks in build-up, and he goes off with an injury. Now, normally, Ben White gets injured, you bring Mosquera on as a straight swap because Timber's out. Normally, that shouldn't hamper you too much. Maybe you wouldn't have, as much help in build-up. But I actually think the majority of the link-up that was going on was on this left side between Trossard, Calafiori. I thought Trossard was unbelievable in that first half, even before he got the goal. Same with Calafiori. But Arteta, I think this is a poor decision from Arteta. As opposed to bringing on Mosquera as a straight swap, he decides to bring on Zubimendi. Now, at first I was thinking he's going to play Zubimendi right back. He's going to do a straight swap there, maybe invert him into midfield. But my dumbass brain forgot that Declan Rice is on the pitch. And I remember there was a game where I think Timber was a late out against, I think, Brighton at home, and then it ended up being Declan Rice that moved into that right back position, and that's what happened in this game. Now Declan Rice didn't have a poor game the time he was at right back, the short amount of time, because I'll talk about how Arteta rectified that. It's not like he had a poor game. Like Declan Rice at right back. I almost did it again. I can hardly even get my words out. I am tired as shit. Declan Rice at right back. The issue isn't defensively. Like, he is very good defensively. Obviously, he came through West Ham's academy as a centre-back. But it was more just he isn't in areas of the pitch where he can control more. I think that when you've got Lewis Skelly, who, whilst he's a great player, he doesn't break up play nearly to the level that Declan Rice does. Neither does Zubimendi. I think having a midfield pivot of those two with Eze in front of them, who doesn't really offer you anything off the ball, I think that just sort of, you lose a bit of control there. And putting Declan Rice in the right back positions, there were times when he was inverting into midfield, although he stayed wide for the majority of that 20-minute spell that he was at right back. He isn't able to have as much influence on the game. Declan Rice, you can make an argument that he's our best player. This season it's probably between these three. Normally Saka's in there, Odegaard's normally in there. You could argue Declan Rice is our best player, and moving our best player into a position where he isn't able to have as much influence on the game. Obviously, a right back isn't going to be as influential as a midfielder, because as a midfielder, you normally get more touches of the ball, you get the ball in, more game-influencing areas. Don't really know how to say that. You can't really impact the game. So we definitely dropped off after that first half hour. That's when West Ham had a bit more time on the ball. That was when they were able to get into the final third to create some opportunities. I think Bowen had a couple of crosses that were wayward. Was the Castellanos header in the first half? Was it this one? Yeah, this. I think it was a cross into the box from Bowen, and then Tati manages to get a diving header. I love diving headers, man. They're a death in football. If he had scored that goal, I would have been gutted, but I would have been like Fairs. But Raya is able to make a crucial save, and we will talk about Raya when we get to the second half. But I want to give Arteta some credit, because he is usually a very stubborn manager. That is one thing that I've criticised him about. I've given Arteta a lot of criticism this season and towards the end of last season. And one of my big gripes with him is that he's a pretty stubborn guy. We saw it with Havertz, where it took him over half a season to realise that the Havertz midfield experiment wasn't working. I remember the Thomas Partey right-back thing as well. He's done a few things that haven't really worked. And credit to him, because not just the half-time sub, but there was another sub. Both of those subs showed that he realised that decision to bring Zubimendi on wasn't correct. He knew that Declan Rice wasn't influencing the game at right back. We had lost control. So he takes off Calafiori. Look, I think that was quite harsh, but he's kind of... there's nothing else he can really do, because... you're not going to take Zubimendi off after, 15 minutes? Honestly, that probably would have been the best option. You're not going to take Zubimendi off after 15 minutes. And who else are you going to bring on? I wouldn't have brought off Lewis Skelly. You had to bring someone else off, so you could bring a right back on. And then what? If you take Lewis Skelly off, you move Zubimendi into midfield. Maybe that would have worked, but instead, he decided to take off Calafiori and stick Lewis Skelly at left back, where... I think 6.7 is harsh for Lewis Skelly. He was excellent. First half, he was great in midfield. And then even when he was at left back, he was still playing well. So yeah, credit to Arteta. He realised the mistake he made, and then he went and rectified it. Now the start of the second half, it was a bit sort of even. I mean, if we look at the second half stats, as you can see, West Ham probably the better side in the second half, although we were the ones that ended up getting the goal. Before Zubimendi came off, did we even have a shot? Yeah, we had this effort from Saka, a couple just long efforts from Saka, but I think we were a bit more in control than we were before, but we still weren't really able to generate much. I mean, there was this effort from Bowen, again, like a nothing effort. Nothing really happened. Like, we were in control, but still, we were the team that needed the goal, so it still wasn't going right. And then he doubled down on trying to fix his mistake. Zubimendi, who came on half an hour into the game, he then hooks him off. He makes a double change, takes Zubimendi off, along with Eze, and brings on Ødegaard and Havertz. And when this sub happened, I had mixed feelings because, again, I thought Zubimendi deserved to come off. He was not having a great game. And Eze, look, I probably would have kept Eze on because you can make an argument that him alongside with Saka are our two best attackers, and when you need a goal, we hadn't yet scored. So, yeah, taking Eze off is very, very questionable. And then bringing on Ødegaard and Havertz, again, how did we even line up? I think it was like Havertz, Ødegaard, Rice as the midfield, which, again, Havertz in the midfield, I don't like it. Maybe he, instead of Eze, should have taken off Gyökeres, but I actually thought Gyökeres had a decent game considering the type of game it was. So good on Arteta for deciding to make that change. And then the other change he made while we're talking about it is he hooked Saka off for Madueke. I understand he's come back from an injury, but when you need a goal, having Saka and Eze off the pitch is very, very questionable. Like, if we didn't end up winning this game, if we didn't end up scoring and it was a 0-0, maybe even a 1-0 West Ham, that double substitution and then the Madueke one would be scrutinised, because like, why are you taking off your attacking quality, leaving on Leandro Trossard, who that was his first goal in 2026, but it ended up working out because right after that last sub happened, Ødegaard, who has been absolutely slated over the last year and a half by Arsenal fans, rightly so, because for our captain, his performance has been absolutely terrible, has a brilliant bit of play, picking up the ball in the box, a few passes, but ends up getting the ball back, picks it up at the edge of the box, drives in a bit, then instead of passing it first time to Trossard, who had a defender up his arse, waits, fakes it, and then as the space opens up, gives the ball to Trossard, who nestles it into the far corner. Brilliant bit of play from Ødegaard, and then great finish from Trossard to give us a 1-0 lead. So, as much as at the time I wasn't a fan of those substitutions, it ended up working. He kept Trossard on when I wouldn't have. He scored. He brought Ødegaard on for Eze when I probably would have kept Eze on. I do think Ødegaard needs to come into the game. And then Ødegaard gets the assist. And then the controversy. West Ham, after we go 1-0 up, typical Arsenal, go in our shell a bit. I mean, did we even have another shot? Nothing really. Just a set piece. Like, really, we didn't have anything. West Ham starting to gain a little bit of momentum. I forgot to say, before the goal, this from Raya. I mean, honestly, that save, if we end up winning this league, it could genuinely be the biggest save an Arsenal keeper's made in my lifetime. Like, if this save at 0-0, if Fernandes scores and West Ham go 1-0 up, I don't think we win the game, and I don't know if we even draw. And if we lose that game 1-0, not only is the title no longer in our hands, but it's in City's hands. Because if they win all their games, and we win all our games, they would be a point ahead of us, so it wouldn't even go down to goal difference. And look, whilst it was an incredible save by Raya, it's a worse miss from Fernandes. Like, he's literally at the near post, about 5 yards away from goal. He has, like, the whole goal on his right side. He instead goes for near post. Don't get me wrong, it is a massive, massive save for David Raya, who I think is the best keeper in world football. I'm very confident saying it right now. You know, when you had guys like Neuer and everyone, Courtois and everyone still around, Alisson too, Donnarumma, you might be reluctant to say that. But, in my opinion, he is And then I guess now it's time to talk about the controversy. If we go here, I can show you. West Ham scored a disallowed goal in the 95th minute. It would have been like the last kick of the game. And very, very controversial moment. Obviously, cross into the box. Raya comes out to claim it. And Pablo has his arm over Raya's neck. Flaps at the ball. Ball falls to Callum Wilson. Takes a shot. Gets cleared. But it was behind the line. So the goal crossed the line. West Ham have a huge equaliser. And that could have been massive for the Premier League. Not just for the title race, but for the relegation battle as well. Now, I think rival fans online have been making an absolute mockery of themselves for the way they're talking about this decision. Because it is a clear foul. It is a clear foul. Literally, the guy's arm is wrapped around David Raya's neck and he's being pulled to the ground. How are you expecting him to catch that ball? A guy that is the best keeper in the world at claiming crosses, if he's flapping at a ball like that, he's clearly been fouled. Now look, you can talk about the consistency of fouls in the box and everything this season. Like, you can talk about that all you want. And look, there have been goals that have gone our way where we have, done a bit of shirt pulling and all that in the box that I disagree with. I disagree with those things. I don't think they should have stood. But this one's a clear foul. Like, put all that aside. Just look at this decision on its own. It is a clear foul. Yeah? If you want to talk about how we've benefited off decisions in the past, sure. But two wrongs don't make a right. It's a clear foul. The only thing I could stomach is if they gave a penalty, because I think it was Trossard who was holding Mavropanos. If they overturned the goal, gave a penalty, I would have understood it, because there was a foul for that as well. But it's not a goal. It's not a goal. And you guys that are crying about it, corruption, I bet you weren't saying this when the goals were going in our favour. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the game. I mean, we got the win. Let's talk about its title implications, because I think I said after we lost to Manchester City that this was our most difficult game out of all the, 5 remaining fixtures? The only ones I could think about were the 2 home games right after that, Newcastle and Fulham at home, because we have a poor record against both those sides. Although against Newcastle, we pretty much always beat them at the Emirates. It was definitely the hardest out of our last 3 games. And I said before this game, after City dropped points to Everton, that if we beat West Ham United, it would pretty much have one hand on the title, because our last 2 games are against already relegated Burnley at home and the Crystal Palace side 3 days before a Conference League final. So Arsenal, the title is in your hands. All you have to do is beat teams that aren't playing for anything and go grab it. Because this West Ham side, a draw, it probably wouldn't have done all that much for them. It just would have put them level on points with Spurs. They still would have been in the relegation zone with Tottenham having an extra game to play. But for us, it's absolutely massive. And who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe West Ham go down on goal difference, and not getting a point there will cost them safety. But this is so big. Obviously, City play Crystal Palace Wednesday night. I'm expecting them to win that game, but it shouldn't matter. We should get the job done. And if we had dropped points in that game, it would have been all to play for. And if we had lost, it would have been in City's hands. So let's wrap it up with player ratings. I've got the squad here, the starting squad, along with the substitutes, and I've put Mikel Arteta in there. Raya, best keeper in the world. 10. I don't even care. You're getting a 10. Like, you're actually just getting a 10. Generational performance. Made 2 big saves. The Tati one at the far post and the Mateus Fernandes one. Was claiming crosses. The only time he wasn't able to claim a cross was when he was literally fouled and everyone's crying about it. 10. Ben White, guess we'll give him a 6. It's decent, the 30 minutes he played, but what do you expect him to do in 30 minutes? Saliba, I'll give him an 8. Sensational, Didn't really lose the ball at any time. Wasn't caught out defensively. Gabriel, though, and this is the first time I've given Gabriel a higher rating than Saliba for a Premier League game in the while, because I did it against Atletico Madrid. 9. That block. Like, him and Saliba had pretty much similar performances, but that block, I think it was it Tati? Was it Castellanos, the shot? The block that he makes, that's going in the back of the net. Like, genuinely unreal block. Clutch moments, man. Look, people have been on Gabriel's ass about, oh, he gets refereed differently and he's a diver, he's a flop. He's top 3 centre-backs in the world. Definitely top 5, you could argue top 3. I might have him number 2. I genuinely might have him number 2 behind Saliba. Calafiori only played a half, but I thought he was good in that half. As I said, I thought he was unlucky to get hooked off. I'll give him a 7. Declan Rice, not his best game ever. Didn't offer anything at right back, but when he was in midfield, we had a lot more control, so I'll give him a 7. Lewis Skelly, I'll give him an 8, just because he was able to put in good performances at at left back and in midfield across 2 different halves. So fair play to you. You've played hardly any football, but these 3 games, you have been instrumental. Saka and Eze both get 4s. I thought they were by far our worst players in this game. Had very little impact. Saka wasn't really beating his man at all. Eze, there were a couple moments where I thought he got unlucky. You know, that I'll talk about it when I get to Zubimendi. But yeah, just didn't really offer anything. Trossard, I will give a 8. Is it not? Does he deserve a 9? You know what? Fuck it. 9. 9. Took the goal very well, but even before that was involved. And this is a guy that's been absolutely terrible in 2026. Had that great purple patch early in the season when we were in our best form. But in 2026, absolutely awful. Genuinely, he's been terrible. But since we've started playing this team against Fulham, Atleti, and now this game, he's been good. And then Gyökeres, I might have been watching a different game to other people. I'm going to give him a 7. I thought he was very good. His hold-up play was good. It was pretty much the same shit that we were doing against Atletico, but because there was all the controversy and we scored a late goal and there were big defensive moments, he's not going to get as much recognition. As in that last game, we didn't have many other stand-up performers, so we got a bit more recognition. I thought he was arguably just as good against Atletico. Maybe he's not getting as much recognition because he's against a worse side, but I thought he was great. Definitely our best attacker behind Trossard. Now for the subs. Mosquera. I'll give Mosquera a 7. Defended well. Never got caught out at all. Did his job. Although I should have rated Zubimendi first. Zubimendi can get a 3. He was the worst player on the pitch if we include the subs. Dreadful. There was a moment where he could have slipped Eze in. Overcooked the pass significantly. When he got into midfield, we lost all control. And it's disappointing because I thought against Atleti and against Fulham, the cameos he had, he was good. I thought maybe that he's had a bit of rest, he'll improve. Again, not good in this game. Needs to improve. He's been very disappointing over the last few months. Erdegaard, been critical of you, mate. But 9. Sensational cameo. He normally does that. He's normally involved a lot in terms of like high volume touches, but he doesn't really do much with it. Whereas in this game, he looked like he had a bit more aggression, a bit more intent in what he was doing. He was releasing the ball faster. He was actually passing into dangerous areas. And then, as I mentioned before, brilliant assist. Noni Madueke can get 4. Absolutely 0 impact on the game whatsoever. And then Havertz, it took him a while to sort of get into groove, but I thought some of his hold-up and some of the runs he had late in the game were good, so you can get a 6. And the Mikel Arteta, this is an interesting one. I don't think it was a brilliant game from him. I'm going to give him... Is a 6 harsh? I'll give him a 7. I said 7, mate. Because I thought when the second half kicked off, I was angry with the 2 subs that he made. The first one, very angry. The second one, at least he tried to rectify it, but again, still not the correct sub in my opinion. But then again, he took Zubimendi off when he had to come off. He made the correct subs, even though a couple of them I didn't agree with at the time, and ultimately, we got the win. So I can't be in a tie, like in crunch time. So I can't be too critical. So you get a 7. But yeah. one step closer. I tweeted after the City result against Everton, 5 more wins. That was before we played Fulham and Atleti. And we've now gotten... Sorry, not Fulham and Atleti. It was before we played just Atleti and then this game. And we've gotten 2 out of those 5 wins. It could be less if City drop points, but I'm not looking at them. It is now 3 more wins from our greatest season ever. Win against Burnley and a win against Palace to secure the Premier League title, and then a win in the Champions League final against PSG to win it for the first time. I'm absolutely buzzing, man. This was a great result. Not the greatest performance, not the most consistent, but when we got to that run-in, I said, I don't care about performances anymore. I care about points. I care about wins. And since that City game, when everyone was losing their heads, when we lost control of the Premier League title, we've been pretty much perfect. The only game we didn't win was the first leg away from home against Atletico Madrid. And we went through anyway. So big up Arsenal. And yeah, let's go make history.